At my brother's wedding, they stuck me outside in -18 degrees Fahrenheit right next to the trash bins. He looked me dead in the eye, smirked and said, "That's where the stray dog Lily likes to sit." My parents and sister laughed like it was the funniest thing they'd heard all year. I'm Avery Jennings. That single sentence hit harder than the Idaho wind cutting through my coat. I stood there holding the silver gift box I'd spent weeks choosing the ribbon already stiff from the cold. The lodge doors were 20 feet away, warm light spilling out, music thumping, everyone celebrating inside. My name wasn't even on the real guest list. They'd printed a second smaller one for extra people and stuck me out here with the trash. I didn't scream, didn't cry. I just tightened my grip on that box, turned around, and walked straight to my car through the blizzard. Snow filled my boots in seconds. The engine took 3 tries to start. As I pulled away, the lodge lights got smaller in the rearview mirror. 15 minutes later, the screaming started. If you've ever been treated like you don't belong in your own family, you know exactly how that feels. Drop a comment below. Have you ever walked away from people who were supposed to love you? What happened next shocked every single person in that room, and I was already gone when it did. Keep watching. Growing up in a quiet suburb outside Chicago, I learned early that love in our house came with conditions. My brother Ryan arrived first, the son my parents had prayed for. 3 years later came Ashley, the daughter who looked exactly like Mom. Then 6 years after that, I showed up. By then, the family photo was already complete, and I was the extra frame nobody hung on the wall. Dad owned a mid-sized construction company. Money wasn't tight, but it was always spoken for. When Ryan turned 10, Mom sat us down and announced the college funds. 2 accounts. One labeled Ryan Thompson, one labeled Ashley Thompson. Nothing for me. She said it kindly, the way people deliver bad news they don't feel bad about. "You're so independent, Avery. You'll figure something out." Dad just nodded and went back to his newspaper. So I did. At 17, I moved into a studio above a dry cleaner, paid my own rent, took night classes, and put myself through community college. Scholarships covered the rest. Ryan went to Northwestern on the family dime. Ashley studied marketing at Illinois. I graduated debt-free while they graduated with new cars in the driveway. I kept contact minimal, holidays when I had to, birthdays when I felt generous. The rest of the year, I built a life in Seattle far enough that excuses came easy. 3 weeks before the wedding, I stopped at a bar near Pike Place after work. The place was crowded, loud, forgettable. I ordered a whiskey and stared at my phone, trying to decide whether to book the flight to Idaho. Someone slid onto the stool next to me. "Jennings, holy shit. Avery Jennings." I looked up. Justin Carter. Tall, same crooked smile, same nervous habit of spinning his glass. We'd gone to high school together. He'd dated Brooke Henderson senior year, the same Brooke who was about to marry my brother. We talked for an hour. Old teachers, old parties. Then his tone changed. He leaned closer. "Listen, I'm only telling you this because Ryan used to be decent to me. Brooke's playing him. Hard." He pulled out his phone, showed me screenshots. Messages from Brooke to him 6 months ago, then 4, then last month. Hotel receipts. A selfie of them in bed dated 2 weeks after her engagement party. And the real bomb bank records showing Ryan had transferred $1.8 million into an account in Brooke's name, only to protect the assets before the wedding she'd told him. Justin's voice dropped. "He thinks he's marrying up. She's laughing behind his back. I thought someone in the family should know." I stared at the screen until the words blurred. All the years of being invisible suddenly felt useful. Nobody would suspect the quiet one. Nobody would search my bag. That night I bought a new USB drive, copied everything, added a short note, and sealed it in a plain black box. No ribbon, no card, just the truth, cold and undeniable. I booked the flight the next morning. The alarm pulled me out of sleep while it was still dark. I dressed in silence, black wool dress boots, long coat, grabbed the plain black box from the kitchen counter and walked out into the freezing Seattle morning. 6 hours of driving waited ahead across the state over the pass into Idaho, then up the final climb to Schweitzer Mountain. Snow started before Spokane and thickened into a solid white curtain. By the time the resort appeared, the world had shrunk to headlights and wipers. I parked in the guest lot, pulled on gloves, and carried the box toward the main entrance. A coordinator in a burgundy parka met me at the doors before I could step inside. Avery Jennings, I nodded. She checked her tablet, frowned, then gestured for me to follow. Instead of guiding me into the warmth where guests were already gathering around coffee stations, she led me along the outside of the building past the service ramp to a narrow covered patio no one else was using. A lone metal table stood against the wall. 2 folding chairs, a portable heater that refused to light. 3 commercial trash bins overflowed with bags from last night's rehearsal dinner lids. Frozen open snow piling inside like dirty frosting. The wind came straight off the ridge and slammed into everything. "This is auxiliary seating," she said, already backing away. "Someone will check on you." The door closed. I was alone with the storm. Through the huge windows 30 feet away, the real party moved in slow motion. Ryan stood near the fireplace in his tux, surrounded by groomsmen slapping his back. Ashley adjusted Brooke's long train while photographers circled. Mom floated between tables, touching flowers, smiling at everyone who mattered. Dad shook hands with men I didn't recognize, probably future investors. I set the black box on the icy table and watched my breath freeze mid-air. The cold here was different from Seattle. Dry, vicious, hungry. It found every gap in my clothing within seconds. My toes went numb even inside double socks. The wind howled so loud I felt it in my teeth. I kept expecting someone to open the door and wave me in. A mistake, a change of heart, anything. Minutes stretched. The ceremony music began drifting through the walls, muffled but unmistakable. Still no one came. I walked to the window and looked straight into the ballroom. Ryan glanced outside once, saw me, and turned away without a flicker. Ashley noticed next. She whispered something to Brooke. All 3 of them laughed. That was the moment the last thread snapped. Not with anger. With absolute clarity. They hadn't forgotten me. They had planned this. I picked up the box again, hugged it to my chest, and started toward the corner of the building. The side door opened just as I rounded the corner of the building. Ryan stepped out first. Collar turned up against the wind tuck, still perfect. Ashley followed, silver dress catching every security light. Mom came next, cream coat buttoned high, pearls glowing like small moons. Dad trailed behind, shoulders hunched, hands buried deep in his pockets. They saw me immediately. Ryan's mouth curved into the same half-smirk he had worn since childhood, whenever he knew he held all the power. He took in the empty folding table, the dead heater, the trash bins overflowing with frozen bags, and let out a short, satisfied laugh. "Well," he said, loud enough for the wind to carry every syllable, "looks like someone finally understood where you belong." Ashley snorted, gloved hand flying to her lips, too late to hide the sound. Mom gave a small, approving nod, the same one she used when Ryan closed a big contract or Ashley landed a promotion. Dad stared hard at the snow between his shoes. Ryan walked closer, boots crunching, breath fogging. "That's where stray dogs like you sit best," he said, voice flat, certain, final. "We wouldn't want you inside making the guests uncomfortable, would we?" Ashley laughed again, louder this time. "Honestly, Avery, did you really think we saved an actual seat for you?" Mom touched Ryan's sleeve, almost proud. "Let's not keep everyone waiting." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I simply walked past them, straight through the open door into the heated lobby. The sudden warmth hit my frozen face like a slap. Guests milled around the gift table, sipping champagne, laughing, completely unaware. I moved with purpose. The black box felt heavier than the cold I had just left. I slid it onto the very top of the pile, right in the center where no one could miss it. I turned the tag so the handwriting faced up open during speeches. Avery. Ryan's voice drifted in from outside. Come on, it's brutal out here. Ashley's laugh echoed one last time, sharp as breaking ice. I kept walking. Past the bar where cousins toasted with expensive whiskey, past the photographer adjusting his lens, past the wedding coordinator who had exiled me 20 minutes earlier. She glanced up startled, then looked away fast. I pushed through the front doors. The storm swallowed me again. Snow lashed sideways, stinging my cheeks. My footprints from earlier were already gone, erased by fresh powder. I crossed the parking lot, boots sinking to the ankle, coat flapping open because my fingers were too numb to zip it. I reached the car, threw the useless invitation onto the passenger seat, and climbed in. The door slammed shut, cutting the wind to a muffled roar. I sat there for 3 seconds, maybe 4, watching my breath fog the windshield. In the rearview mirror, the lodge glowed golden, untouched, perfect. I turned the key. The engine caught immediately. Heat began to pour from the vents. I shifted into reverse, backed out slowly, and pointed the car down the mountain. No dramatic spin of tires, no final glance. Just the quiet click of the turn signal and the steady crunch of chains on snow as I disappeared into the white. The road twisted, lower headlights cutting tunnels through the storm. I kept both hands locked at 10 and 2 knuckles, white chains clinking every time the tires hit a patch of ice. The lodge lights disappeared behind a bend and never came back. Pines crowded the shoulders, black and silent snow, piling on the hood faster than the wipers could clear it. A wide pull-out appeared on the right, gravel half buried under fresh powder. I eased the car and rolled to a stop and left the engine running for heat. Far above the lodge sat high on its ridge, every window blazing, strings of bulbs tracing the roof like a Christmas card no one would ever send me. I cracked the window 2 inches. Wind screamed through the gap, carrying ice that stung my cheeks and melted on the dash. The car rocked side to side with each gust. Snowflakes whipped inside and vanished against the warm vents. My phone started its attack. Ashley, where the hell did you go? Ashley? Get back here. Right now. Mom, Avery, this is unacceptable, Ryan. You're embarrassing the entire family. Ashley, you're ruining everything as usual, Mom. Everyone is asking questions, Ryan. Pick up the damn phone. Ashley, selfish little bitch. The screen flashed non-stop vibration, rattling the console. Notifications stacked so fast the names blurred into a white blur. I flipped it face down and stared up the mountain. The lodge looked peaceful from this distance, warm, perfect, untouchable. Then the first scream ripped across the valley, high, raw, inhuman. It rose and cracked, and kept rising until it shattered into pure panic. Another voice joined, male, furious, broken. Glass exploded somewhere inside. Doors slammed open. Tiny figures spilled onto balconies and stairs. More screams layered on top of one another. Car alarms began wailing. Headlights swept the parking lot in wild arcs. Someone sprinted across the snow and fell hard. Another person dragged them up. Phones lit the windows like fireflies. Red recording lights blinked everywhere. My own screen kept buzzing against the console battery, draining fast from the flood of messages. I didn't touch it. The Golden Lodge turned into chaos, a kicked-over hive. People poured outside in tuxes and gowns, slipping on ice, clutching coats they hadn't bothered to grab. Someone hurled a chair off the deck. It landed in a snowdrift and stayed there. Another scream, longer, ending in choking sobs that carried clear across the valley, even through the wind. Red and blue lights appeared far below, climbing the switchbacks, slow but steady, cutting through the trees like warning beacons. I closed the window. The sudden silence inside the car felt almost sacred. I shifted into drive, eased back onto the road, and kept descending. Inside the main hall, the DJ tapped his laptop and hit play. He had been told a surprise slideshow from the couple would run right after the father of the bride toast. The black USB on the gift table looked exactly like the one Brooke had handed him earlier during setup. He plugged it in without looking twice. The massive projector screen behind the head table woke up. First frame, Brooke pinned against a hotel hallway wall, mouth locked with Justin Carter, his hand sliding under the hem of her dress. Timestamp burned bright in the corner 3 weeks after the engagement party. The room inhaled as one. Second frame, a mirror selfie inside a dimly lit bedroom. Brooke topless, laughing, Justin's arm around her waist, caption visible. Still can't believe he bought the ring already, Lywell. A woman near the front dropped her champagne flute. It shattered like a gunshot. Third frame, bank transfer confirmation. $1.8 million moved from Ryan Thompson's personal account to Brooke Henderson's private account. Note field, pre-wedding asset protection. Love you forever, hearts. Silence fell so complete, the crackle of the fireplace sounded loud. Patricia Henderson. Brooke's mother rose so fast her heavy chair toppled backward and crashed against the hardwood. Her face went from confusion to recognition to pure fury in the space of one heartbeat. She stared at the screen, then at her daughter, eyes cold as the snow outside. Ryan stood beside the head table, untouched champagne still in his hand. The glass trembled, then slipped from his fingers and exploded against the floor. Liquid ran between his shoes. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. No sound came out. Brooke's face collapsed. She lunged toward the DJ booth, heels skidding on spilled champagne. "Stop it. Turn it off right now." Her voice cracked into something ugly. The DJ yanked the drive, but the files had already auto-looped. Another photo loaded Brooke and Justin in the front seat of his car, her hand high on his thigh, timestamp 2 nights before the rehearsal dinner. Phones rose in a wave. Dozens of red recording lights blinked alive. Someone started live streaming. Someone else screamed. Patricia crossed the dance floor in 4 long strides. "You told me he was safe money," she hissed loud enough for 3 tables to hear. "You told me everything was under control." She grabbed Brooke's wrist hard enough to twist the skin white. "You used my son's wedding to rob this family blind." Brooke tried to pull away. "Mom, those are fake. Someone set me up." Ryan finally moved. He swept his arm across the head table. Plates, candles, the 3-tier cake, everything crashed to the floor in an avalanche of frosting and crystal. He grabbed the nearest chair and hurled it sideways. It smashed into a floral arrangement and sent petals flying like confetti from hell. Guests scrambled backward. Mothers clutched children. A groomsman stepped forward, then thought better and retreated. Brooke spun to Ryan, mascara already streaking. "Baby, please, you know me." He looked at her like she was a stranger. "I know you took $1.8 million while planning our wedding." "I know that now." Patricia didn't let go of Brooke's arm. "Everyone in this room just watched the truth. You don't get to cry your way out." The screen looped again because the DJ, panicking, had hit the wrong key. The hotel photo filled the wall for the 3rd time. Brooke let out a raw, guttural scream and crumpled straight to the floor among the broken glass and ruined cake. Ryan reached inside his jacket pocket. He pulled out a thick cream envelope, the annulment petition already signed and notarized weeks earlier. He unfolded it slowly, the paper crackling in the stunned silence, and set it on the head table beside the ruined cake. "This marriage is over," he said, voice flat and final. "It never started." A collective gasp rippled through the room. A few guests stepped backward as if the words carried physical force. Brooke tried to rise from the floor, palms slipping on spilled champagne and frosting. "Ryan, no, you can't do this here." Patricia gripped her daughter's upper arm like a vice and hauled her upright. "You've humiliated yourself enough for one lifetime." She dragged Brooke across the dance floor, past overturned chairs and shattered crystal